Regulation is an important topic at the Asian Financial Forum 2014, and joining us is Carlson Tong. He's the chairman of the Securities and Futures Commission of Hong Kong. Thanks indeed for doing so. And really, when you're looking at regulatory efficiency, and we're looking at Hong Kong, how would you assess that today and in the future?
Yeah, of course, I would like to think that it's very efficient and operating well. Perhaps I would mention that as a result of the global financial crisis, the SFC, together with other regulators in the world, try to learn from the lessons of the crisis and also try to reform rules and regulation to make sure that our market can operate efficiently going forward. I think if I may add, our key focus is, of course, protection of investors. That is the most important thing to us. And secondly, also, is not to forget that we want to maintain the competitiveness of Hong Kong's international financial center. Those are our two key focus. And I think we have a strong team and we have the resources to uphold those vision of ours.
So really the Lehman Brothers saga, the so-called mini-bond saga, if one could put it that way, that's very much in the rear-view mirror as far as you're concerned.
Yes. I think we've moved on and we learned lessons and we try to make sure that we have enough new rules and regulations in place that wouldn't happen again. But obviously, you can never guarantee, but we're doing our best.
But you're still, these days in that case, looking at what you'd call some of these rather interesting kind of opportunities that there are for investment, but which are not necessarily stocks, but they are to do with maybe other kinds of investments, such as in bonds or whatever. So you're really looking at that area more now.
Yes, I think the areas we're looking at is education. We need to ensure that investors understand what they're investing. And I always like to say that if you don't understand something, don't invest in it. And the other thing is obviously monitoring the sales conduct of the intermediaries. Make sure that they are giving the right message and explanation to investors and they're not misleading them. That is very, very important, the conduct of sales, and that they're not selling something to an investor that don't really need it.
So do you think that Hong Kong perhaps requires more teeth so that you can put people behind bars as opposed to simply wrapping them over the knuckles?
I think Hong Kong's been doing quite well. Recently, we had a few examples where we used one of the powers we've got under the SFO ordinance of Section 213, where we can go to court and apply for injunction to freeze asset to try to compensate investors when there's reasonable ground that misconduct has taken place. So, we're trying to do our best to send the right message that it costs to break the law.
Of course, Carlson, in 2014, we believe that there were going to be a lot more of what you call these initial public offers, yes. IPOs. Do you see that as being somewhat of a problem, really, if they follow one after the other, and it's a case of trying to regulate them, trying to make sure that nothing goes wrong?
Our part is to make sure that all the intermediaries, the stakeholders, do their right part, and that's why we introduced a change to our recent sponsor regime from 1st of October, where we have introduced rules so to make sure that the sponsors do a comprehensive due diligence and also that prospectus are filed as complete as possible and make sure that sponsors face their responsibility.
And so far as regulation is concerned, you feel you've got the full package now, do you? As opposed to producing more regulatory differences and amendments into the future?
I think that in terms of IPO and listed companies regulation, there are really three legs to it. There's IPO, and the other thing as you know is since 1st of January last year, we introduced the inside information statutory regime, the purpose of which is to encourage a disclosure culture. And in fact, if you compare 2013 to 2012, the number of inside information disclosure has gone up by 52%, and profit and trade warning alert has gone up by 16%. So it shows that that's working. And last but not least, we've recently announced that we will take a more proactive approach to really monitor the corporate misconduct of listed companies. So we're trying to catch them before the damage is done.
So that's Hong Kong. But how would you compare our regulatory regime here in Hong Kong to, say, Singapore and Shanghai? We're often compared to these two places.
I think the regulators in the region, we're trying to work together. In fact, our CEO is the chair of the Asia Pacific Regional Committee of IOSCO. And what we're trying to do is to give Asia a voice to the international discussions on regulatory reform, because it's not one size fits all, and Asia's got a very different type of development, and I think Hong Kong does our part, and we'll also have a lot of information exchange with other countries and regions to make sure what we're all doing meet global standards.